Hail, intrepid viewers, and welcome back to the Wayhaven Chronicles, Book 1. We were just establishing that we hold a grudge against our ex, Bobby Mick reporter face. Let's see how that goes. The grudge I have for Bobby is one that will never shift. To think I once trusted him, ugh. I let out a quiet groan in embarrassment of my past self. He grins at me as he approaches, his phone held out like a microphone.
Hey, what's happened here? Can you tell me?
No, I can't, I reply curtly, pushing the phone back as he thrusts it closer.
Nothing at all?
No, nothing at all, I repeat, dipping beneath the barrier and heading for the sanctuary of my car.
Not even for an old friend?
I shudder at the way he says old friend, once again reminded of my error in judgment in college when we dated. No, definitely not. If I had anything, you would be the last person I'd tell. Since we're such old friends, you should believe me when I say no. You know I can't say anything. I'm gonna go with option 3. I like that. A little turnabout. Since we're such old friends, you should believe me when I say no, I answer, trying to hold back the sneer from my face. I apparently don't manage to hide it very well, gauging from the triumphant smile he throws me, obviously pleased at getting under my skin once more.
Come on now, Sam, Bobby coos. You wound me with that kind of talk.
Goodbye, Bobby, I say with finality, marching the last few paces to my car. I yank open the door and sink into the silent solace of the front seat. Bobby continues to shout muffled pleas through the window, so I turn on the radio and strap on my seatbelt. I rev the engine, loud enough to be sure no one doubts my resolve to run them over if they don't move. The sea of spectators quickly parts as I reverse out of the alley. It'll be a while before Solomon Verda, Wayhaven's only pathologist, has anything to report, so I decide to take a quick brunch. I drive the car towards the swanky, modern side of town. The red brick factories that take up every foundation and building in Wayhaven have all been given a coat of fresh, white, or classy grey paint in this area. Tidy shop fronts line the streets, each with a scripted, scrolling shop name running across the top of the door. The square is the center of this modern hub, and I pull up to park beside the bakery. Getting out, I try not to break my ankle on the aesthetically pleasing but treacherous cobblestone street. Thankfully, the wet, slushy blanket of leaves that covers the road of Wayhaven have long ago been cleared away from the square. I doubt the leaves even had a chance to touch the ground before someone was plucking them up and throwing them out. The bakery is surprisingly empty. I stumble to a stop inside the doorway as a waft of hot air lined with the scent of fresh bread embraces me. Interesting. A baker. What does a baker sound like? Good morning, Sam! Haley, the bakery owner, greets me with a grin, her ivory cheeks flushed red and a ring of white blonde hair just visible beneath a red and white checkered chef's hat. What can I get you? I stare at the curved display and the pastry goodies spread behind it, the fresh warmth of them steaming the glass. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Tea and a pastry. I'll have a tea, please. My gaze flickers to the pastry, their scent enticing me closer. And one of those. My favorite pastry, not an option here. Actually, I was going to say cronut. Cronut is my favorite donut. I realize it's half donut. Sometimes I like jelly, sometimes I like cinnamon rolls, which aren't always donuts. But other pastries what I like that aren't donuts. I mean, eclairs, general choux pastry, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever really met a pastry that I didn't like. I mean, certainly you could make like a donut and put like a pepper in it or something that I wouldn't like, but I don't know. For the most part, it's all good, man. Anyway, have a tea, one of those. She gives a smile and turns to the counter behind her, the aroma of hot tea mixing with the pastries, making my stomach rumble. After a moment, she turns back and places down the paper cup and bag on the counter. On the house! Are you sure? She nods. I heard you're gonna need it. What with that murder and all? She grimaces and wipes her hands on her apron. Yeah, guess word gets around quick. That shouldn't surprise you, she says, chuckling. It's worse than when we were in school. Everyone here is the same age. I nod in agreement. There's a saying in Wayhaven that if you don't know what's going on, you just have to ask the person next to you. Insular is an understatement. At least I know it's you out there protecting us, she says with a genuine smile. I give a slow nod. I joined the police force because I wanted to help people and make them feel safe. It's the best career in Wayhaven that could put my mind to use with my family. So against the army, the police are the next best thing. Nothing happens in Wayhaven. It seems like an easy job. It gave me a badge, and that badge gains me free stuff and favors. I like a job with structure and defined rules. This job allows me to use my scientific skills. There are no other jobs like that in the city. I had a rather rebellious youth. It's either the police or jail time. I'm gonna do it that one. I'm gonna go with that one because that's in line with kind of both Samuel Vimes and Bigby Wolf. I had a pretty rebellious youth. The trouble came back to bite me when I was faced with the choice of going to prison or joining the force in order to temper my attitude. That seems like a weird and very easy choice. I chose the police, and it's worked out pretty well, surprisingly. The worst crimes I've had to deal with are vandalism and graffiti, which is not vandalism. Well, there was that time Mila Evans knocked her tennis ball through Jake Marshall's window, but that was all an accident. Sure it was. And it's probably better than that someone like me is solving this murder, and not someone with a weaker stomach. I grab up my goods, coming out of my thoughts. Thanks for this. With a grateful nod, I leave the shop and attempt to traverse my way over the cobblestone once again. I am curious what kind of pastry it is. I'm just about to sip my drink when the phone buzzes, Verda's name highlighted on the screen. With a sigh, I put down my things, start the engine, and make my way over a couple of blocks to the station. Back at the station. Morning, Douglas, I call as I push open the heavy glass door, pleased to be back in the familiar setting at the station. It was once a factory, but the insides have been completely refurbished into a bright, modern work area. The walls are mostly made of large windows, and the workstations are efficient but open. The young officer seated behind the gray faux marble front desk of the station scrambles to shove his cell phone into his pocket. Instead, he only manages to drop it on the floor. We both stare at the item as it spins on its back before slowing to a stop. Douglas shifts his wide-eyed gaze to me, both of us realizing work had been far from his mind while I'd been out. I thinned my lips in thought, suddenly presented with how to deal with the mayor's son now that I'm in charge of the station. No one upsets the mayor, and I'm not foolish enough to do it either. Nope, forget that. Mayor's son or not, he's supposed to follow the rules, take the phone. Well, he's an adult, I don't know that I should take the phone. He should be punished, I'm not going to parent the kid, that's the mayor's job, let him have the phone. I need to be able to reply to my own people, not be distracted at work, hold on to the phone. Well, I mean, 3 of these options are hold on to the phone. I feel like that's what what I want to do is I want to give him back the phone, but I want to make it clear that it, here's your phone, you're on garbage duty for a week. Like, I want to give him a punishment. I don't want him to get away with it, but I don't want the punishment to be taking the phone. So I'm in a bit of a Sophie's choice here. I really don't like the reason for this one though, the reason being no one upsets the mayor, that disqualifies this option. As much as I'm sure I'm gonna get stabbed in the back for Douglas not having a phone, I would have called you, but I didn't have my phone. As sure as I am that's gonna happen, I cannot pick option 1 because the reason for it is too bad. So I'm gonna regret picking these options, but which reason is the least repellent? And I think it's option 3. Presumably I'd like to think the police station has a wired phone still anyway. Really? I ask, putting on my best disappointed voice. The young man turns away with a pout. I bend down and retrieve the phone, slipping it into my jacket pocket. I need to be able to know you have the station covered while I'm out, Douglas. No, he says like a child being chastised, which I realize he sort of is. I'm sorry, detective. I'll keep it safe until the end of the day. I'm gonna get shot and that phone's gonna save my life. Maybe I made the best choice ever. He doesn't argue, only slumps back into his chair with a heavy sigh. His long bangs cover his puppy dog expression, the light blonde hair almost lost against his pale skin. I shake my head and begin to move towards the pathologist's lab. As I push open the doors to the staircase that leads down to the basement lab, I wonder if how I dealt with Douglas was the right move. The all-powerful Mayor Friedman doesn't like any insult to his name, so Douglas must be a real disappointment. Still, Douglas is kind enough, just young and not great at actually remembering to focus on his work. I shake the thought away as the chill of the basement sinks into my skin. My gaze flashes over the no food or drink sign nailed to the wall just a few feet from the lab, and I grip my drink. I'm gonna hold on to it. Perk of office? I mean, ideally I'd set it down on my desk or chug it, but those aren't options here. Rules don't apply to me, man. I keep walking past the sign, clutching my drink tighter. I crush it. Hot tea everywhere. The warmth of it seeps into my fingers, and I'm glad I chose a warm beverage before visiting the chill lab. The pastry crumbs don't exactly look professional, though, so I brush them away quickly before moving on. I bump the heavy door open with one hip, pacing into the clean room behind. White tiled walls shine all around. The shimmering silver machine dotted about the edges of the room are not very welcoming. I don't know how you work down here, I say, spying Verda sitting at his metal desk to one corner. The slender, short man isn't even wearing gloves, just a suit and a simple white medical coat. He turns and gives a grin, the expression making his dark brown eyes shimmer, even in the dull electric light.
This is the first time I've really had to work,
he says, running a hand over his styled brunette hair as he always has highlighted, the color complementing his light brown skin.
Mostly, I just deal with the overflow of natural deaths Dr. Turner can't manage.
He stands from his chair and moves closer. I was just thinking, my favorite ever medical officer from media. I don't know a lot of them. I don't watch a lot of crime shows, but I gotta say, it's probably Alfred Molina from, what was that show? The main actress in it was Rashida Jones. Not Andy Barker P.I., it's a different show. Something Archer? Nope, Archer's the spy one. This is gonna bother me. Maybe I'll remember it later. Anyway, Alfred Molina, aka, Doc Ock and all that stuff. He was a hilarious lab tech. Angie Tribeca, that was the show. Anyway. He stands from his chair and moves closer, his gaze shifting to the drink in my hands.
You know you're not supposed to have that in here.
I arch a brow, my own focus moving to the steaming mug of coffee on his desk, and neither are you. He smiles, the expression bright and full of cheer. Suspicious. I snap out of my thoughts, our attention back on the white sheet on the table. The woman's head and shoulders are the only thing visible. You haven't started the autopsy yet? He shakes his head.
No, but...
He purses his lips, a shadow of a goatee framing them.
I found something you might need.
He spins around, lifting an evidence bag off the nearby counter. Inside is a cell phone. They couldn't find this on her at the scene, I say, taking the bag and looking over it.
It was in her boot.
We both stare at the woman, her skin now a grey-white, her lips so pale they seem to have sunken back and disappeared. We really need to find her identity so we can inform her family. We really need to find her identity so we can find the killer. I hope the rest of the people in Wayhaven are safe. If I can solve this, my career will be off to a good start. Let's choose one of the two less selfish options. I guess that's not selfish, but it's a little bit of a non sequitur. Find her identity so we can find the killer. Not necessarily a true statement. Let's go with A. Let's stick with A. We really need to find out more about her identity, I say, letting out a saddened breath. I need to be able to inform her family.
Yes, I don't envy you that job, Verda replies, his shoulders sagging, but I'm glad you care about that kind of thing, more than most detectives would want to do back in the city stations.
I half smile at him, appreciative of the compliment. There's not much I can tell you at the
There's not much I can tell you at the moment, Verda continues. Though I did notice bruises around her wrists and ankles.
She was tied down, I ask, the thought making my chest tight.
So it would seem.
His voice trails off, in obvious sympathy for the poor woman. My hand tightens around the cell phone, and I bring it up to turn it on through the evidence bag. The phone flashes to life, and I give a sigh of relief to find it's not pin protected. Flicking through the call log, there are the usual names, home, work, but then only a very few other numbers. The texts are pretty standard too, though again, very few of them.
She obviously didn't get out much,
Verda says, as he glances over the phone too. I can sympathize. I don't get exactly much social life in this job. Poor girl, she might have been less of a target if she hadn't been so isolated. I can't blame her, being that social is overrated, man. It's strange to think that there are some who wouldn't want to go out more and know people. That's real judgy, man. I'll stick with A, I guess. I can sympathize, I say, continuing to look through the phone. It's not exactly easy balancing this job and a social life, and she had this job before me,
It can be done, Verda replied with a chuckle, but it's hard work.
Why am I not surprised you managed to find time to get out and about? I throw him a grin. He shrugs, then moves back towards his desk.
Life can't be all work, detective.
The conversation is halted as I go through the photos on her phone. A few catch my attention.
Something wrong?
Verda asks. No, it's just... I stare at the pictures closer. They're blurred as though taken in motion, but the stained walls and cracked metal beams are familiar. I recognized where these pictures were taken, and they seemed to be the last photos she took.
You think she managed to capture where she was murdered?
Possibly, I reply, shutting off the phone and frowning. Looks like it's from the old Ferris warehouse at the edge of town. Tina and I had quite a few patrols up there. It's falling to pieces, but the teenagers still insist on risking their necks by going in it.
Ah, to be youthful once more,
Verda says, to which I can't help but laugh.
Will you go over to the warehouse now?
I will, and after I've done some paperwork, I reply, moving to the doorway and glancing back at him.
Alone?
I've got my radio if I need backup, but I'm pretty sure Tina checked it out already the other day. I can't imagine some deranged murderer still hanging out in there. He frowns in concern.
Be careful, detective.
You worried about me, Verda? You know, we're exes. I'm the model of careful. Thanks for your concern, but I'll be fine. It's my job to do these things, safe or not. Going with that one. It's my job to do these things, whether they're safe or not, I reply.
I know,
he says, glancing down for a moment,
but I don't want it to be you on this table.
He gestures to the cold silver table where the victim lays. And I don't want anyone else on that table, so it's up to me to stop this. He gives an understanding nod. I smile in return and leave the room, feeling much better than I have since finding out about the murder. Next chapter! Chapter 2. That evening. Is this chapter 2? I don't remember. I haven't been paying close attention. I think it is. After a century of neglect, I'm impressed to find the paint declaring Ferris and Sons still clinging to the brick of the large rectangular warehouse in some kind of defiance towards time. The roof isn't putting up that much of a fight. The metal, corrugated tiles are peeling away. Some, already fallen, lie discarded on the swath of concrete spreading out from the building like a dull, grey moat. The warehouse is hidden from view of the town by the forest and is far enough out of the edge that no one really pays it much attention. Out of sight, out of mind is a motto that suits Wayhaven quite well in general. Or kind of some NIMBYism. There is still enough of a trail through the trees for me to drive my car up to the building, though I find my teeth clacking together more than once over the uneven dirt track. I am thankful to pull up onto the concrete. The cracks are easier to deal with than the tree roots. Cranking on the handbrake, I lean over my passenger seat, ignoring the piles of crumpled paperwork until my hands find the slim handle of my flashlight. It's a weighty piece of equipment, but its light slices through the gloom easily as I step out of the car. This is a random poll, but favorite flashlight from fiction? For me, it's gotta be the Galvanic Lucifer from the Cryptonomicon. Such a great name for a flashlight, and this is a description like a diesel-powered, like, handheld spotlight. Oh, it's so cool. I glance over the shadowed scene of the abandoned warehouse, the moon beginning to rise behind it. The silence from the surrounding trees only makes the squeak of the metal doors echo louder. I can't help my mind running to who or what I might find inside, and whether I might be dangerous. It might be dangerous. Am I dangerous? Okay, so I've got good combat skills, so I can deal with whatever's ahead. I have good combat skills, but I'd rather not use them. I have good combat skills, but I hope it's enough to deal with whatever I'm being abandoned. I have decent, weak combat. I've got freaking amazing combat skills. Man, hopefully choosing an option doesn't mean I have crap science skills, but it probably does, which is fine. That's how Big B is anyway. I can handle myself well into a fight if it comes to that, but still, the uncertainty of the situation makes me anxious. My hand travels with the gun and pepper spray at my belt, though the gesture doesn't help to settle my nerves as much as I'd hoped. I can't tell if it's the chill night air or worry that makes me suddenly shiver, but I do my best to brush the feelings away. I press onwards into the warehouse, hoping to get this over with as quickly as possible. Inside the warehouse. Inside, I sweep my flashlight across the interior of the warehouse, the beam of lights flashing through the murky darkness. It definitely seems empty, though I'm not sure if that is a relief or more of a concern. My shoes hit the dirt-caked floor and I glance down. The tiles must have been rather beautiful at one point. Hints of yellow and red jut out between the dried mud, dust and plants as my shoes scuff against them. Graffiti lines most of the crumbling walls, all of it spray-painted with the perfect spelling and grammar. God forbid one of the rebellious rich kid's parents find out they had spelled this place stinks incorrectly. I roll my eyes at the mild language and tidy handwriting before wondering where to start. I'm gonna stick with the D... I don't know. So, I'm inclined to say ground level. Outside is tempting, but my concern with the outside is if there are people inside, it gives them a lot of time to prepare something. I don't know, like what if Kevin McAllister's in there? Let's just stick with it. Let's not overthink it. Deciding that where I am is as good as a place as any to begin, I move further inside. My light flashes across the wide space, the beam glancing off a cluster of burnt tin drums. A few ragged blankets are crumpled around them. I move closer to inspect. I don't find anyone homeless there, but there's definitely evidence that someone had been camping here. Maybe something spooked them to move on? I try not to let my thoughts linger on that idea, and begin walking the edges of the large room. Nothing seemed overly out of place. Remains of old factory machines lie rusted and heaped in the center, and a soft glow of moonlight through the doors gives me a pretty clear view of the whole area. It's not until I near the doors again that I notice the flutter of plastic from one of the walls, like a curtain flowing in the breeze. Hello, anyone there? I'm with the police. I approach in silence and ready myself, look over the area before approaching. We're going with option B, and hopefully not get ambushed in the next episode. Thanks for watching, guys. See you then. Signature catchphrase.